Hey everyone, today on the podcast I am talking with Zandi Ndhlovu. Zandi is also known as the Black Mermaid. She is actually the first female African freediving instructor in South Africa. But I'm going to level with you right now. I've talked to a lot of people, and Zandi may be my all-time new favorite. The conversation we had was amazing. The wisdom she shares, and the description of finding peace while she's free diving was, to me, it was worth the price of admission. You're really going to like this conversation. It is by far better than any conversation I've ever had with myself. If you've suffered through the podcast I've done with me as my own guest, this is going to be your favorite conversation. But if you've heard all the others also, I think you're really gonna like this conversation with Zandi. She is a phenomenal superstar. Guys, pull up a chair and buckle up, and maybe even put a mouthpiece in. This one's good. Pull up a chair and buckle up. It's the Original Strength podcast. All right, so we'll start with the surface level stuff first. And I'll say a lot of bad jokes like that. But you are known as the Black Mermaid.
Yeah.
Because you are the first free diving instructor in South Africa. Is that right?
The first Black female freediving instructor, yes.
Wow. Okay, so
Yes.
what happened? How did you become, like, what made you get up one morning and say, you know what? I want to start diving really, really deep into the ocean. Not only that, I want to do it in a place where the biggest great white sharks ever have been.
That's actually a good question. So I grew up in Soweto. Soweto is a landlocked area. It's about 6 hours from the nearest beach. And so I didn't grow up anywhere near the ocean. There was no ocean culture in my life. And in 2012, probably, I see the sea for the first time. So we'd gone to visit my mother's family, and we're seeing everything for the first time. Her dad, her side of the family, everybody. And a little bit later in 2016, which is just like yesterday ago, I'm going through a lot, and I end up going to Bali. And while in Bali, I'm having this incredible time, and I hear this guy offering a snorkel trip, and it's something that I'd always wanted to do. But I also, I have no idea what it means. And I end up going on the snorkel trip. And please don't think that I wasn't panicked. From when the boat got further and further from shore to when the captain said kit up, I didn't even know which one goes where. There was a lady that actually said to me, have you ever been snorkeling before? I think she could see the panic in my face. Like after the captain said kit up, I was like, where to from here? And she was like, this is the snorkel, and that goes, that's in your mouth. The mask is going to cover your nose, so you won't be able to breathe through your nose. And just from that moment, yes, when I jumped into the water, I did freak out. I'm drowning, even though I was not drowning. But what followed was falling in love with the ocean. It was a world that I had never, ever seen before in my life. And yeah, then I came back to South Africa asking the question, what next? Got certified to the heavens with scuba diving qualifications. And then in 2018, I come across these girls on Instagram, and they're freediving. And I didn't even know what freediving was. I just thought it was daylight witchery. And I was like, where the hell are they tanks? What's going on here? And in 2019, I go for a freediving course, and it was just so incredible. From that first moment, I just knew that I didn't only want to freedive, I wanted to teach. I wanted to tell everybody who would listen. I really just wanted to make this my life. And I qualified as a freediving instructor in 2020. And I guess the rest is history.
Wow. All right. So I don't know if you'll be able to explain this, but what was so wonderful about it that you wanted to just devote everything to it?
It was the colors underwater. It was the beautiful fish life. It was these colorful fish that came past. And then this massive honeycomb moray eel came past, and it was beautiful and weird. But for me, it was the most beautiful thing I'd ever seen. And to this day, I still say I think I look a bit like a moray, but that's not the point. But And when you look at, like, I'll never forget the bottom of the ocean. It looked like it was being lit up from beneath, like how the sun was just hitting the reef was insane. It blew my mind. And I mean, in Soweto, there's lots of brown, and like the roads are brown, there is many trees, and you finally grow up and you manage to afford yourself a bit of greenery in some suburb. But the blue world, I was not ready. I was not ready. It smacked me open, and I had to figure out how I go back to live there.
Wow. I bet you're going to be pretty excited about the new Avatar movie coming out then.
Oh, you should have seen me. So we went to go watch Black Panther. And as it came on, I was like, oh my word, oh my word. And everyone's like, "Sandy, calm down." Looks amazing. Looks amazing.
Just listening to you, I think that movie was made for you. Yeah. So, all right. So free diving could also be known as deep diving, or really crazy deep diving. Like that's a whole other level. So how deep have you dived?
So I've dived 35 meters deep. So I'm not very, very deep. 35 meters is what? Over 100 feet? I don't know.
It's deep enough. It's about 35 meters deeper than I have dived.
And I still want to go deeper, right? And it's incredible, just the feeling that you get the deeper you go. There's a point in the dive where you go into the free fall, and all that means is you are negatively buoyant, and without finning, you are just dropping to the depths of the ocean. And that used to freak me out in the beginning, but now it's probably the most magical place, the most sacred place you'll ever experience in your entire life. Yeah.
That's just hearing you talk about it. I mean, I'm curious, like, but then I'm thinking, nah, Tim, that's not for you. So how about, have you seen any sharks while you're doing that?
Of course.
And is it still magical when you see the shark? Do you still feel like it's magical?
I have to say there was one moment when I was curious. So I'm holding my camera. There's this bull shark that's coming up towards me, and it's massive, maybe 2.5 meters. And I'm like, oh my word, this is beautiful. I'm a lover of sharks, until I see on the side of me, there were like fish just swimming around, and they just go scram. And all that means is that there's a bigger shark that just entered the vicinity. And I just think this is not the time. And as I turn to my left, there's a bigger mom bull shark. And I just knew it was time to start ascending. It was time to just end that dive nicely, make a nice surface. And the smaller shark actually, and it's not actually not smaller, but it went up all the way with me. And the difference is you don't break for the surface. It has to break contact first. You don't break contact first. And so it was, I think that's probably the one moment when I thought, I think I've proven my point. And then it eventually darted away and it swam in another direction and just broke for the top, because you only have so much of a breath hold as it's sussing you out.
For those of you listening, if you don't know, the bull shark is very well known for being the most gentle shark in the ocean. I'm kidding. It's the movie Jaws was made after the bull shark.
It might as well have been. Bull sharks are daunting. And I think that's the thing, that they're not afraid. And so in every single moment when you encounter one, there's such a need to remind them that you're not their food. And that just works with eye to eye contact until it breaks contact. You don't break the contact first. Maybe that's something to remember. You never turn and run, only prey runs. And you couldn't be faster than a shark. Come on.
No, but I like your style. Don't break contact first. You make them break. I like it. All right. So you said you only have so much of a breath hold.
Yes.
How long can you hold your breath?
4 minutes 15 at the moment.
Good gracious, that's pretty good.
I've got some lungs.
Oh yeah, I guess you have to. That's awesome. All right, so I want to dive in. So that's another bad joke. I told you I was gonna try these bad jokes out. We were on the surface level, and then now we're here we
Go
go.
for gold. Go for gold.
All right, so I was reading your website, and you had a couple of interesting things on there. Diving brings us closer to the knowledge of ourself. Can you explain that? Like, I know you kind of touched on it, but how can you gain a deeper understanding of yourself through free diving?
It's amazing how free diving, it's interesting. And I have to explain it this way. In scuba diving, many people, the journey is more external. What am I going to see? You've got time, you've got endless amount of time. And free diving, the dive is often internal more than it is external. So yes, you might come across some exciting stuff, but everything, because you're sitting on one breath, it makes the present moment the only thing that matters. And I don't think we ever, as in our human experience, we grow up the whole time, everyone's asking us what we're going to be. We're always referencing our past and our future. We're never quite in the present. And when you're in silence with more water than you could ever imagine, and just the self, there's something there. When you learn to not be moved into fear first, but into a pause first, something changes inside of you. When you learn the power of your breath and how it can take you to the deepest of depths, just one breath, you start to, you have to change. And I feel like that for me is it. What happens when it's dark in a quarry and it starts to get cold because you're getting deeper and deeper. You can't see anything around you. You just have to trust. You really begin to live differently and experience life differently. And you get to see yourself, and you get to see your monsters, and you get to see your fears all on one breath. And it's something, it's an incredible place to be transformed.
That could probably be the best answer I've ever heard anyone give for any
Wow.
question I've ever asked. That was amazing. That's
Thank
the
you.
show right there. Good night. Thank you so much for listening. That was amazing.
Thank
All right,
you.
so to go a little bit more along with that, you said in 2016 when you went to Bali, you were just going through some stuff.
Yeah.
Would you say then that free diving or the ocean or discovering yourself or learning more about yourself, did it, I guess, set you free in a way to really learn how to let go of things? Like, can you explain that a little bit too?
Yeah.
Because not to interrupt you too much, but you've got the most amazing smile, and it's hard to
Thank you.
imagine that you would be going through some stuff with a smile like that.
Oh, all right. I love this for us. Thank you. And can you imagine, right? Because you still go through the worst. And so I was going through a divorce. Maybe that's the easier part of it, right? And I actually went to Bali because I needed to find words to tell my family that I was a failure, that
Oh,
everyone else was managing this thing and I was just not getting it right. And while I was there was a resurfacing of my life, of who I've always been, of the joy that's always lived in my body, and what it would mean to reclaim myself, right? And I often say that the ocean saved my life. And everyone's like, yeah, of course. I mean, you love it there. I'm like, no, you guys don't understand. It physically, just because the world has always been a difficult place. And all of a sudden, there was this place where everything looks so different and it's so beautiful. And nothing is, the human world is often boxed. It's often, this is how women behave. This is how men behave. This is how grown-ups behave. And in the ocean, there's none of that. You're perfect just as you are. You don't have to show up in any kind of weirdness. And so it was a mixture of refinding that joy, but also feeling so liberated in my existence every single time when I was battling with anything on land. I go into the ocean and I'm able to find that bravery to be true and to continuously be true, because all that matters is our highest light, our most authentic existence. Anytime when we're not small, that's when we're living, that's when we're truly living, and that's when we're gifting the world. But it's also scary. So for me, it's It's a two-part space of just finding myself, the safest existence, but also what it means to ultimately fly. And every time you fly, you get that courage and you come back and you're like, guys, I just need to tell you this. This is what needs to happen. It's that courage builds, and one day it just becomes a part of you.
I really, really like you. Wow. So, okay, so growing up, like, I don't know if you ever saw the movie Splash, but it was about a mermaid with Tom Hanks, Daryl Hannah. Anyway, mermaids always represented, like, fantasy, wonder, miracles, beauty. You're all of that.
Thank you.
You are the Black Mermaid. This is amazing.
Thank you for this. I think, it's crazy how the ocean is. Have you seen Black Panther?
Yes, I have.
Wait. Did you see the underwater scenes?
I did.
I cried.
They were
It
beautiful.
was right. It was the most, but also just the human space. Just so they didn't have, like, it wasn't aided, right? They didn't have fins on. It was just, oh, my word. Long and short is, I just sat there like like someone who has never touched her home ever, like all of 6 hours ago. I wanted to be in the water as well. This was too much to watch, but it was beautiful to see.
So first of all, I am a huge superhero Marvel fan for sure. Of course I've seen Black Panther, but second of all, I'm recollecting her face when she was underwater, seeing everything, just the sheer look of joy and amazement, and just like it was like she was in heaven. And I'm imagining that's the look on your face every time you go under the water.
Yeah. Always a heart full of wonder and just awe and presence like no other place in the world. It's amazing.
So Zandi, if someone just gets a wild, crazy hair and they say, you know what, I want to go to South Africa and dive with this lady here, how can they find you? How can they get in touch with you?
Zandi the Mermaid, everywhere on Instagram, on like all social media. So it's easier to DM me, but you can also get hold of me on blackmermaidinfo@gmail.com.
Awesome.
Which might be easiest, actually.
All right, before you go, are you working towards or training for anything in particular as far as diving goes?
Ooh, lots of dreams in that space. Yeah, I've got a depth in mind, and next year is the year for it. So yes, training, working towards it, strengthening the mind naturally.
Then we will have to talk again next year so I can hear and learn from you.
Absolutely.
Because
Yes.
I've discovered that I've met a really great teacher in South Africa that I need to stay plugged in with.
Yes, and you need to come and dive because it's the most beautiful place. And white sharks are scary, yes, but they're also something that you have to see with your own eyes at least once, just to be in awe of how big they are. Like, we think they're big until you see it and you're like, that big.
Yeah, I'm sure I want to do that. So I'm gonna tell you though, I'll probably surprise you because I swim like a rock, so I should make a good diver. I
think so.
I should make a good diver. Last question. Do you like peanut butter?
It depends. I like macadamia butter.
Oh, okay. Talk to me.
What? I don't know. I don't know if that qualifies as peanut butter.
No, butter spreads, nut spreads are good. So you like
Okay, good.
macadamia butter?
Yeah.
Do you buy it or do you make it on your own?
So I buy it now, but I've always made it on my own before. Like even almond butter, just because everything tastes better at home, man.
I
Everything
know.
is better made at home.
So I too used to make my own macadamia nut butter, but then I discovered, you know what?
Oh,
It's just easier to buy it sometimes.
yes, 100%. Life is just sometimes easy. Let the people that make it and make it well make it.
Amen. Right on. Zandi, thank you so much for being on the show. This has been awesome.
Thank you so much for having me. And yeah, I look forward to getting in touch with you again, but also you getting to South Africa so you can come and dive. Shot.
Thanks for listening, everyone. Now get outside and play.